There was joy in both Gaza and Israel when a ceasefire took effect in October 2025 after 2 years of war.
الحمد لله اليوم أعلن الرئيس ترامب إنه الحرب وقفت وإحنا والله كتير مبسوطين إنه الحرب وقفت.
There are no words to describe the feeling today. It's undescribable, like spontaneous joy, excitement, tears.
Since then, while all Israeli hostages have been returned and the security situation in the Palestinian territory has improved, Hamas has accused Israel of repeated truce violations, including airstrikes, while the militant group has yet to start a disarmament process agreed under the peace plan. 4 months into the ceasefire, living conditions for most Gazans remain dire.
أوقات بحالفنا الحظ بقدر آخذ وأغطي لقمة طعام لأهلي وأوقات ما أقدرش برجع إيدي فاضية.
ومرضين معناش مصاري نجيب علاج ومن جميع النواحي يعني والله البرد كتلنا.
But even while basic needs remain unmet, the US has put forward plans for the territory to become a glamorous beach resort.
See, I'm a real estate person at heart, and it's all about location. And I said, look at this location on the sea. Look at this beautiful piece of property, what it could be for so many people. It'll be so great.
So what does Gaza's future hold, and what will it take to rebuild it? If you're interested in this and other on-the-ground reporting from around the world, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to AFP. The war in Gaza has left over 80% of the territory's buildings damaged or destroyed, according to a UN assessment, creating more than 60 million tons of rubble. Most of Gaza's 2.4 million people now live in tents or makeshift homes. Winter rains have added to the misery, with many of those living in tents flooded, their few possessions irreparably damaged.
الساعة 1 صحينا على حالنا لقينا الدنيا بتغرق ومطر فيش فراش المطر دخل علينا من تحت الخيمة يعني فيش أمان منها لا غطا ولا إلنا ولا الأطفال ولا لا شيء بنطالب كل إنسان بيشوفنا بدنا كرفانات بدنا حرام بدنا فراش.
Another major issue is the thousands of tons of unexploded ordnance littering Gaza. Everything from individual bullets to huge bombs can be found in streets and former homes.
لأنا قادر أطلعه طب أنا بدي أطلع الصاروخ وعلى القليلة ألفه بشوادر وأسكت.
Children are often tempted to pick up and play with unexploded shells, inevitably leading to injuries.
انفجر فيهم مخلفات الكيان الإسرائيلي وكانوا جنب الدار رجله اليمين يعني بدها عمليات تجميل بعد هيك وإيده كمان راحة كمان أصبع من أصبع يمكن 2 يمكن 3 مش عارفين يعني ما كناش صحيين للضربة.
On a more basic level, there are major issues with essential water and sanitation services. This large pond in Gaza City was originally built to collect runoff rainwater. It's now at risk of overflowing with sewage after drainage pipes and filtration equipment were destroyed in the war. Meanwhile, mountains of refuse are piling up, looming over people's tents and causing a major health hazard. Gaza's main landfill sites are now beyond the Israeli military's yellow line of control, and refuse workers aren't allowed to cross it to take away rubbish. Given the dire situation, the need for reconstruction is clear, but the main proposals from the Trump administration have been highly controversial. In February 2025, President Trump first said the US would take over the Gaza Strip, suggesting that Palestinians will be permanently resettled elsewhere, and the territory could be turned into the Riviera of the Middle East.
I hope that we could do something where they wouldn't want to go back. Who would want to go back? They've experienced nothing but death and destruction.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was reportedly surprised by the announcement, but ultimately supported it. Weeks later, Trump posted an AI-generated video showing a gaudy version of a Trump-owned Gaza. The original creators of the video later said it was meant to be a parody. US allies condemned the plan as ethnic cleansing, and in Gaza itself, Palestinians also pushed back.
احنا عندنا خيار واحد لا ثاني له، اما نضلنا في بلدنا او نموت فيها فقط لا غير.
واحنا نرفض التهجير ونرفض الطرد من ارضنا، هذا ارضنا.
The latest US plan was presented by President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, at the 2026 Davos summit. It retained the vision of a new Gaza filled with luxury skyscrapers. Citing the example of Middle Eastern cities such as Dubai, which have sprung from desert sands, Kushner suggested major progress could be made in just 3 years, though the UN says clearing rubble alone could take 7 years, with reconstruction lasting decades and costing $70 billion. The new plan no longer calls for Gaza's current residents to be permanently removed, but it does split the territory into highly secure enclaves.
It does include the idea that they won't have to be permanently expelled and ethnically cleansed, but within Gaza itself, there will be quite a lot of ethnic cleansing that takes place. And it won't be as a result of consent. It's going to be, these are the settlement blocks that we are creating, this is where we're going to put you.
But before any major building work could take place, huge security concerns would need to be addressed. Now overseeing Gaza's rebuilding is US President Trump's Board of Peace. With Trump its unelected chairman, and member nations asked to pay $1 billion for a permanent seat, most European countries have so far declined to take part. Originally proposed as a way to manage Gaza, the board's founding statutes were much more wide-ranging, with critics accusing President Trump of trying to replace the UN.
It's quite clear that Trump wants to circumvent the other veto powers on the Security Council. Actively buying a permanent seat in an exclusive club sends a very worrying signal about what transactional and deals-based international diplomacy may mean in the future.
The Board of Peace delegates day-to-day running of Gaza to a technocratic committee led by Ali Shart, a former deputy minister of planning in the Palestinian Authority. But this committee will have to work alongside de facto Israeli control over the territory. Israel's military still occupies around half the Gaza Strip, and despite the ceasefire, it regularly conducts strikes and demolitions throughout Gaza. In mid-January, for example, 3 journalists were killed in an Israeli attack, including AFP freelancer Abdul Rauf Shart. According to figures collected by the Hamas-controlled Health Authority, which are considered reliable by the UN, more than 450 other people have been killed since the ceasefire took effect in October. The Technocratic Committee will also need to work with Hamas. While the armed group is no longer officially in charge, it still has significant influence on the ground, and it's yet to start disarming as required under the peace plan. Israel's Prime Minister says this is his top priority.
מה זה השלב הבא? השלב הבא זה פירוק החמאס מנשקו ופירוז רצועת עזה. השלב הבא איננו שיקום.
If Hamas does agree to disarm, Israeli troops are meant to withdraw further, and security will be handled by an international stabilization force made up of foreign troops. A grim chapter came to an end on January the 26th, when Israel retrieved the body of the final missing hostage who had been taken on October the 7th, 2023. Ran Gavili was among the 251 hostages taken back to Gaza that day when Hamas burst into Israel, killing over 1,200 people. Since the October 7th attack, Israel's reprisal has killed over 71,000 people in Gaza, according to the Hamas-controlled Health Authority. Following the return of the remains of the final hostage, Israel is now expected to partially reopen the Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt. A lifeline for Gazans, its reopening would be a rare positive development. But deep concern remains for what the future holds, with many obstacles to negotiate before Gaza is rebuilt in any form.